I'll quickly go through some charts here to show you why I think we are near where the Titanic actually goes under. Yes, for the last 17, 18 years that I've been warning about this, there is a leak. The leak's gotten worse. No one's come to fix it. Well, Ron Paul wanted to fix it, but we know what happened to him. He was put aside. He wasn't allowed to give his message to warn the world that the Titanic was sinking. Thursday, October 17th, 2024, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. While we're going to look at the biggest short of them all, I think this big short is going to be unprecedented. And why is that? Well, because we've never had a major reserve currency that was a debt instrument, i.e. the US dollar, ever since 1971. And unfortunately, I think things are getting out of control, not just for the dollar, but all fiat currencies that are a derivative of the dollar and have been since World War II. And I've been warning about this for many years, even before I started this channel. And we're going to look into that today. And yes, I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm just trying to tell you what I see. So before we move forward with the biggest short of them all, just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of my affiliates. One of them is Miles Franklin, precious metals dealer in the US. Right now they've got a special on $10 Liberty Gold Eagles. They're pre-1933 coins. They have it at $24.99 over spot. So that's the equivalent of about $50 over 1 ounce, or the $20 gold coin. I think it's a good deal. It's coin of the realm, so to speak. It's coin that circulated. Maybe your grandparents, great-grandparents, they had these coins in their pockets. And it's 90% gold, of course. And they've got a 1 ounce silver Australian kangaroo coin, $2.99 over spot. And then I like to give a shout out to the Dirty Man Safe. It's hidden protection, instant access, and you can put all your precious valuables, be it gold, silver, coins and bars, or any other thing, in Dirty Man Safe, and keep it hidden from those who might want to take it away from you, especially in the kind of environment that we're in. So to find out about both these affiliates, there's some links in the description below. You can go and check them out. I'm going to give you an analogy that is pretty cliche. I would say it's the Titanic. We all know what happened to the Titanic. It hit an iceberg and eventually it sunk in the middle of the North Atlantic. Yes, there's some theories about who was on the Titanic. Very wealthy individuals that didn't want the Federal Reserve Act to be passed, but that's something different. But as you can see here, I said I've been warning friends, colleagues, family, and others really ever since around 2006, when I was still learning a lot about gold, the monetary system. I had already woken up to the fact that there was something completely wrong with our system, that it was a debt-based system that could never be settled. You could never settle debts because you had to pay with another debt instrument. There was no liquidation of that with real money like gold or silver. And I wrote back in 2007, and this was a part two. I haven't found part one, but it doesn't really matter. It was written in 2006. I wrote that currencies, they're all sinking. And at the time, very few people spoke about fiat currencies. I knew what it was, but I just used the term currencies. And marketoracle.co.uk still has that in their archives. I used to keep a blog called forsoundmoney.com. While I was still working in the city of London, I did it more in my spare time. I haven't got that blog anymore, and this article was published there first. And I used to send my articles to marketoracle.co.uk, and he used to publish it as well. So what I was trying to explain here is that all fiat currencies were going to sink. It's not going to just be the dollar. And the reason why is because all fiat currencies were a derivative of the dollar because of the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. And that the dollar was a fiat currency that was not backed by anything. So the only thing that was going to happen is that they were going to keep sinking. And I would say that looking back now, they weren't really sinking. They were still pretty solid. But I guess what I could see is that there's a leak in down in the engine room somewhere. And I could see that it was a big leak and it was serious. And unless we fix that leak, eventually it was going to sink. Pretty much like the Titanic. Pretty much like this juncture here of this picture. And of course, the Titanic sank in a lot less than 17 years or so since I wrote that. But of course, it's an analogy. And it's based on, let's say, fractals. Like it's the same thing happening, but in a shorter amount of time. And why is it taken so long for this fiat currency system, which is led by the dollar, to really be where I think we are right now? We are at this juncture here, at this picture. People are going to start jumping off. Well, because it's a monetary system. It's been in place really in different ways since 1944. First, there was kind of a gold exchange system. It wasn't really a true gold standard up until August 15th, 1971. Then you had the petrodollar that evolved from that from around 1974 up until recently, especially after 2022 when countries like the BRICS and even Saudi Arabia started looking for alternatives because they could see that the current system is totally political now. It's not a monetary or international currency system that helps and facilitates trade and investment. It's more used as a weapon by the leader of this system, the United States, along with its little tender boats, tender ships like the UK and the EU, right? They're all sinking. But even the BRICS fiat currencies, they're going to have a rough time as well because they're all derivatives of the dollar. So, and I've been warning as well that the best lifeboats to have are gold and silver. They are the only way to protect yourself from these sinking fiat currencies. And you can look at gold and silver. Gold is probably more elaborate. It's more of an expensive lifeboat. Silver, not so much, but it will still save you. And silver is the lifeboat that goes really fast and it's going all over the place. Gold is more steady. It's like a rock, and you will never sink. And I think that's what everything's telling me right now. And why do I think this is the biggest short of all? Well, because I've always had an interest in currencies, mainly because I grew up in Brazil and we didn't have a very sound currency, or sound currencies for that matter. So if you didn't keep track of what the currency was doing versus the dollar, yeah, and believe it or not, the dollar is still these days looked upon as a safe store of value, something that is solid. And I think that's a big mistake now. It might not have been back in the 80s and 90s and even up until 10, 15 years ago. And that's why I think as well, Warren Buffett is making a big mistake by holding a lot of the cash that he's built up for Berkshire Hathaway in treasury bills. And I'm going to show you why. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than Warren Buffett. He's a great investor, but in terms of the currency, I think he's making a big mistake. He's going to cost the shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway a lot in terms of purchasing power. They might not lose in terms of fiat dollars, but I think gold and silver and commodities are going to eventually tell us that this system is going to be gone. So that's how I see it. It's the biggest short of all. And why is that? Well, because every financial asset, everything in a currency system is denominated in that currency. So if that currency is going to disappear, and I think it will disappear, just like the Titanic, it will be impossible to determine the value of anything unless you have, of course, gold and silver. And that's why the current prices, yes, they're really interesting and they're pointing to trouble ahead. But pretty soon we're going to have to value things in terms of grams of gold or ounces of silver, because no one's going to want the fiat currencies, and I think it's that serious. And there are some books here that I've recommended many times in the past that talk about this, because the world's been through this, not globally all at once, but in different countries at different times. And all the symptoms are there. This is what happened in revolutionary France, Fiat Money Inflation in France by Andrew Dixon White. It's not just the economy and the currency that collapsed. The whole social political system is in mayhem. Does that sound familiar? And there's also When Money Dies, about the early 1920s currency event in Germany and Central Europe. And all the symptoms were there too. End of World War I, collapse of empires like the German Empire, the Kaiser abdicated, Austro-Hungarian Empire went the way of the dodo bird. A major social and political mayhem, and we're seeing it. And then there is another, so this is by Adam Ferguson, and if you haven't yet, I recommend you read these. You can find free PDFs of these. I'll put it up. I'll put it in the description. And then there's one other book by Jim Sinclair, who passed away last year, Mr. Gold, a pocketbook of gold. And this is a bit harder to find, this book, but he says here, gold is a revealer of falsely stated wealth on page 70. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I've done it before. But that's where we are right now. And I'll quickly go through some charts here to show you why I think we are near where the Titanic actually goes under. Yes, for the last 17, 18 years that I've been warning about this, there is a leak. The leak's gotten worse. No one's come to fix it. Well, Ron Paul wanted to fix it, but we know what happened to him. He was put aside. He wasn't allowed to give his message to warn the world that the Titanic was sinking. But anyway, this chart here is of gold in US dollars, because that's the most important price, really, even though the other ones are important too. And this is since the mid 70s, and you can see that we're breaking this trend line, and this is very serious, this trend line, and that's why I think we're very close to some kind of event. And you might ask, is there a way out? Is there a way to salvage this system, the fiat currency system? Well, was there a way to salvage the Titanic? Unfortunately, there wasn't. And unless you've left the Titanic, you're gonna get hurt badly. Of course, you're not gonna die like in a sinking ship, but financially, I think it's gonna be tough. So I've got other charts here, and I've been speaking about this one for quite a bit. It's the price of gold in Japanese yen. And why? Well, because Japan is the poster child for this debt-based system, for the recklessness of the central bankers and the politicians. Yes, the dollar is the leader, but the yen has kind of led the way because they've printed so much. They've kept rates at zero or even negative. And I said that eventually we're going to hit 400,000, and here we are at 401,000. So it's not just the dollar that's sinking, or it's also the yen. It's also the British pound. We're a new high here. These are all weekly charts. This is the euro, same thing. We're approaching 2,500, new all-time high. Keep going, just to emphasize to you that this is not just about the dollar, it's about everything. Here's the Swiss franc, the supposed safe haven currency. What do we got here? The Aussie dollar above $4,000. Yes, a lot of my Aussie followers are pretty happy, but at the same time, yes, it's good for us stackers that gold and silver are going up, but we need to think about what this is going to signify, and we're already seeing it. So we got to brace ourselves for that as well, and prepare ourselves mentally, because it's not going to be pretty, I would say. Canadian dollar, the same thing. What else have we got here? Kiwi dollar. For almost $4,500 now, and then we got some other indicators that point to even more trouble. I would say the fact that gold, the gold price is going up against the 10-year note, which is supposed to be the safe haven asset for the US dollar. Treasury notes, they're supposed to be almost as good as gold, but they're not. The only reason they're seen as safe haven is that as long as the US Treasury and the government, as long as investors have faith and confidence in the Treasury, they will keep buying their debt when they issue it. But the fact that gold is running away in terms of Treasury notes is a bad sign. And then there's a final one that I need to show you. It's the Dow Gold ratio. And this one goes back to the early 1920s. And you can see that whenever there are big crises, gold outperforms the stock market. And we went to around 2-to-1 back in the early 30s after the 29 crash. We went down to 1-to-1 in 1980. And in 2008, we went just below 6. and then we've rebounded, but it's starting to keel over again. And there are many people like Pierre Lassonde, for example, one of the titans or of the precious metal space. He was, I think, president or chairman of the World Gold Council. He sees that ratio going back down to 1-to-1. Right now, there seems to be a bit of support around 16, but I think pretty soon that's going to start dropping further. So a lot of signals out there. And so, yeah, don't get stuck. Yeah, get off the Titanic, I would say. This is where we are right now, unfortunately. And this is, of course, my opinion. It's not financial advice. I mean, a lot of you have been listening to me for years, and you know that I've been saying the same thing for years. And some people might think it's boring, but it's the truth, I would say, of what's happening to fiat currencies. So right now it's 10 to 9 a.m. London time. We'll have a quick browse through the markets here. We've got spot gold at 26.82. It's up about $8. High's been 86, and that's actually the all-time high, pretty much, that we saw. Let's see, on September 26th, or the week of September. Yeah, September 26th. The high was 26.85. So right now there's a little bit of a battle here around this mid-80 level. But I think it's only a matter of time that we go and touch 2,700 and beyond. Silver, of course, is still finding it tough to make a move above 32.50 or even 33. But it's only a matter of time. That's the way I see it. And it gives you a chance as well. If you haven't gotten into your lifeboat, and the gold lifeboat is unaffordable for you, you can get on the silver lifeboat. But right now we're at 31.50, down 17 cents. High's been 94, low 35. Yeah, in the stock market as well, you know, that's kind of a safe haven, but it's not one that I want to be in except for the precious metals miners. But the Dow is up 10 points. NASDAQ is up 100. These are the futures, of course. And the S&P is up 12. The currencies are fairly quiet right now. Crude oil as well. It's hovering around 70, just below 70. And yeah, that's it. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.